Welcome back. This is Off the Clock with your attorneys here at Herman Wells. We are filming today from our conference room at 5701 Park Boulevard here in Pinellas Park. That's why every once in a while you're going to hear a car go by because we're right on Park Boulevard. We're really easy to find. Come down and see us. Today, we're going to talk to our co-host, Warren Duffy, about his background and how he made the trip. All of us have these really unique trips of how we became attorneys, and it's really fun to hear them. So, Warren, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you, Bill?
Good. People have heard you talk on this before, and so now I'm going to kind of put you on the hot seat. So where were you born?
I was born in Massachusetts.
Okay. What town?
So I was born in a little town south of Boston called North Attleboro, and then I spent most of my life out in what are called the Berkshires, which is the western part of the state in the woods.
Awesome. And where did you attend high school? What was your high school name?
So my high school name was Wacona Regional High School. It was 8 towns, and I graduated with about 125 people, so not a real big populated area.
And where did you go to college?
University of Massachusetts at Amherst is where I did my undergrad right after high school. So in the Amherst, Massachusetts, Pioneer Valley area.
Okay. And when we did Cliff Wells' video, which if you guys haven't seen, go look at it because we learned some stuff about Cliff that was amazing. You from the background shouted in that you were a pole vaulter too.
Yeah, so I started out in high school doing track, and when I was a freshman, that's kind of what I wanted to do, was just pole vault because it looked really cool. And I did that for about 2 years and really found that it was not where my skill set lied. I was a much better distance runner, and so I did that for about 2 years and then moved over and did distance running and stopped falling down.
Which is bizarre because this whole track and field thing, I just found out at a lunch the other day that Alan Gustafson, which is our construction attorney, which we'll get him on here, he ran cross country in college.
Yep.
I did not. Things you learn when you do these videos, folks, it's amazing. So you didn't go right from college to law school, right?
No, I took a little bit of a break. And in between, I did a bunch of different jobs. So I worked in the restaurant industry for a while, was a bartender, a restaurant manager. I worked in the mortgage industry for a number of years, in real estate. And then I moved into working for colleges in admissions and helping kids get enrolled and kind of make those changes. And then ultimately moved into insurance and started selling insurance while I was going to law school.
So which law school did you go to?
I went to Stetson here in the Tampa Bay area.
Okay. So especially from your jobs where you were dealing with younger kids or dealing with the restaurant industry and service industry, how did those jobs help you when you became an attorney?
You know, your background kind of moving between different areas sometimes gives this different, range of perspective of, dealing with very different settings at the same time. So bartending, you're dealing with 45, 50 different customers that all have different wants, needs, and desires, and you're just kind of handling that aspect of taking care of everybody and keeping track of everybody, as well as what else is going on in the restaurant. And then moving into management, kind of the same thing. You're just dealing with very different people, and you're getting this understanding that everyone's journey is a little different. And so have that patience with them, learn from them, and really kind of expand your background as well in that regard.
And going into, what was your first job as an attorney?
This is actually my first job as an attorney.
So how long have you been with Herman Wells?
So I've been with Herman Wells for a little under 8 years. I got barred in 2016. I passed my bar exam in 2016.
Yes, he didn't.
I didn't get barred from something.
That's a term of art, people. And as soon as you said it, I'm like, we need to explain that.
Yeah. So this was the first position I took. Working for Jason and Cliff, they have, that passion, that drive, and that knowledge base that this was where I wanted to be. So I had a couple different opportunities, and this is kind of where I settled instead of going to the defense or some compliance side work.
So here at Herman Wells, back when you joined, we did 2 things: personal injury and insurance, first party property insurance, and a couple other property things. It seems to me in your 8 years, even though you handle personal injury cases and you have handled them and you continue to, the main part of your practice is that first party property type of insurance.
Yep. So my specialty really is coverage, first property coverage, insurance coverage. It does your policy cover that? And there is some of that in personal injury, but it's really more of I look at it from the structural damage. I had something that was insured, it should have been covered, it wasn't, and so that's where I kind of jump in and look at that policy. Should it have been? How do we get coverage for you? How do we move forward from there? So that's the bulk of my work.
So basically, in layman's terms, storm comes through, people see a spot on their roof, on the ceiling, there's a leak. Somebody comes out and says, yeah, the storm lifted shingles, something hit your roof, now you have a hole. The insurance company comes out and says, oh, we're only going to replace 6 shingles because the roof was old or that water didn't come from there. People call you, you get the insurance policy, and you fight for the coverage so they replace the interior damage and the roof and things like that, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm looking through that policy, finding what I's we got to dot, what T's we have to cross to make sure that everything, all the damage is covered, not just the small amount they're thinking, or making sure that the exclusion they're looking at is not superseded somewhere else in the policy with coverage.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned that you sold insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So how did selling insurance make you a better property insurance attorney?
So insurance is just it's a different language. And so coming into this practice area, I already had a very good basis of knowledge about what a policy is supposed to cover. Because I was telling clients that, this is what you want covered, this is the policy that's for you. And so knowing what should be covered and then moving over to enforcing and making insurance companies actually cover it, I had that leg up. So I already kind of had the inside track from what is the insurance company supposed to be offering, why aren't they now?
And it would seem to me that as somebody that's sold the insurance and dealt with the underwriters and had the companies come in and, when they put on their seminars and stuff like that, you could talk, when you call up an adjuster or an underwriter or opposing counsel, you can talk that inside baseball, especially with the adjusters where they go, clause 2, but you could speak their language and say, no. This is this policy, this is this, the underwriter says this, look at these documents. You could do all that. And you still can do all that, right?
Yeah.
And how helpful was that to you?
Oh, it allowed me to get going a lot quicker. Just again, having that knowledge base and already understanding kind of the lingo and who we're talking to. Plus, it's a small world. And so I do see a lot of the same people that I was seeing on the agent side. I do run into them on the attorney side as well. So it's a small world out there. And once you kind of get to know everybody, it's, you have conversations with people, you talk to other human beings and work out problems. And coming at it from the perspective of there's not always coverage, knowing that a policy doesn't cover everything, you are maybe adding a little more credibility to yourself that you're not just saying, hey, I got you, this is covered. No, sometimes there are exclusions that apply. Knowing those ins and outs helps defer those conversations quickly.
Now, doing this almost 8 years, and then your time before that as an agent, if I was to ask you for the most common misconceptions that you have to dispel to almost every client or the majority of your clients about homeowners insurance and coverage and things like that, what would a few of them be?
The most common misconception is everything is covered, and it's not. It's actually the other way around. It's not everything is covered. Actually, most things are excluded. So just that common knowledge of, yeah, you should have coverage for that, but you may not, or there's a limitation here that's going to apply is really important. So for example, with water losses, you don't catch that leak right away, you may not have coverage for it. Now there's coverage for water damage, but not if you don't catch the leak right away. So you kind of got to know what you're dealing with when you're talking to a homeowner that has had a loss, because what they're seeing is my house is messed up. Why is my insurance not responding?
Right.
Age of things. So sometimes you're dealing with, things get old and they do break when they get old. And there's not always coverage for things that are old. There's got to be that kind of event. So, waking up and finding that there's a puddle under your kitchen sink is awful. You got to find where it's coming from first. Is it, the sink seal went, or did you have a pipe blow? So figuring out what the cause of the loss is and knowing where the coverage fits in, that's kind of the biggest key. And it's really, most questions are variations on that.
So what I find, because even though I'm the disability attorney here and I had the disability practice, I do handle first party property cases. So the biggest thing that I see, and I want you to expound about that, is that I call it that dance, that balancing test, to where some clients, as soon as they see something, they call right away.
Mhm.
And then next thing you know, they're calling us saying, "Oh my God, it was I called, they came out, it was under deductible, and my rate still went up." Whatever. And then verse the person that said, "Well, hold on, let me see what that was from. Try to find it, try to get a contractor out." Next thing you know, it's 2 to 3 weeks later. They said, "Oh yeah, it's coming from, you got a pinhole roof in your leaks, pinhole roof leak. It came down this way, this way, this way." And then by the time they call the insurance company goes, "You've been looking at that leak in your ceiling or on your wall for 2 or 3 weeks and you didn't call us. Too late." So can you talk to them about the balancing test that they need to do on that?
Yep. So within the policy, you have a duty to report damage or a loss as soon as it's reasonable. But they don't define reasonable. So you kind of got to take that with, well, what is reasonable? And some people think reasonable is very simply, I saw a spot on the ceiling, I called my insurance company right away. Other people are going to take reasonable as, I saw a spot on my ceiling, I investigated it, I found out that it's a small issue, then I reported it. And I think both those can be right. And an insurance company is going to use whichever way you go. They're going to say either you didn't quite report it quick enough or you reported it too late. That's a real common defense. But as long as the insurance company gets the opportunity to see what's going on and inspect it, then there's no issue and it's okay to report it a couple weeks later. You want to do it as soon as you understand or you think insurance is going to be involved. You cannot unring a bell. And so as soon as you tell your insurance company you've got an issue, that is now a claim on your record. And it does impact your rates. It may impact your ability to sell the home because that claim stays with the property. So you want to make sure that you're not reporting every issue, but you want to make sure you are giving the insurance company enough opportunity to find out what's going on. And that's really kind of that big pivot point of you really can't make major repairs and then let your insurance company know you had a problem.
Right.
They got to see what the issue is.
Because even with like a leak on the ceiling, and we've all of us have been homeowners in Florida, especially us that have homes that still have the air handler in the attic.
Yep.
There are times where you see a little spot in the ceiling and you go up there and either the drip pan has a rust hole in it or one of your ducts have got a leak in it and it's hitting something, and in the summer it's just condensation's dripping down.
Mm-hmm.
That's stuff that your insurance company is not going to fix. Versus if there's a hole in your roof, that's when you do it. So what you're saying is it's okay to find out what it is because it may be something totally unrelated.
Yep.
And something that instead of calling the insurance company, you're calling an AC company to come fix the ductwork.
Yep.
Because it's really not something that you can claim under your insurance.
Right.
But it's all about diligence. And this is what I have to tell people. If you're going to take that route, keep a journal and say, we saw the leak. We called, whatever, ABC roofer. ABC roofer came out and said, "Oh, it's not the roof. It's your You keep that journal, or you call the air conditioning company because you thought it was condensation. And they said, "No, it's not that." Keep your journal of who you call and when you call so you can down the line prove that to a jury that, no, I took reasonable actions. Is that something you would also recommend?
Absolutely. You're going to get that question of, and then what did you do? And you want to be able to respond with, well, this is what I did next. And if you find a leak and the question is, well, what did you do next? It's just, well, I waited till it rained again to see if it leaked again. That's probably not the best answer. But if you're actively taking steps to make sure that you're protecting your property, which is what you have to do under your policy, then you are doing what's reasonable. And not everything needs to be reported as an insurance claim. I mean, it just not everything is.
Right.
So, if it is just condensation on your AC ducts because it's been really cold lately and we've been running our heat in our homes, and so there is condensation forming that we typically don't see, that's not an insurance claim. That's just nature. So those aren't things that you want to report. You want to take the time to figure out what it is, but you also want to be able to tell them what I did next was this, not, well, I waited 6 months and then I reported it.
Right.
That's not the spot you want to be in. You want to be able to tell them what's going on. These are the steps I took, and here's why you guys are now involved.
Okay. So you've been doing this a long time, and I want to ask you your favorite question. If you guys watch the other videos, Warren loves this question. What was the most interesting or outlandish situation have you seen in your practice of law?
Um, so the one that still sticks out to me in my mind is I had a claim for hurricane loss, and the insurance company was paying everything but the fence, and the fence had been blown over in the storm. And for whatever reason, that was their sticking point. It was a vinyl fence, so it wasn't inexpensive, but their position was that the fence had been pushed over by wind-driven rain and not the wind from the storm. And that always caught me, and it still makes me laugh going back at it of, so if it wasn't raining, then the fence would have been covered. But because it was raining and the water was being pushed against the fence by the wind, they thought the water knocked the fence over. It's one of those positions that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so. I'm not.
It just
What?
makes me laugh. It's just one of those things that you just have to look at and go, okay, that's your position, fine. And we got it covered because, ultimately you just can't support that position. But it was just one of those things that it's always made me laugh. And that case was probably 5, 6 years ago.
Wow. All right, so now we get into the fun part of this. So this is what we call our lightning round. Some questions for you to get to know Warren and get to know a little bit about him. So Warren, any children?
Yes.
How old?
I have 3 daughters. I have an about to turn 20-year-old, an 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And then my 2 stepsons are both 18. They're twins.
Awesome. So besides spending time with your family and your lovely wife, his wife is amazing, by the way.
She is.
He outkicked his coverage on that marriage. I'm calling it as I see it right now.
By a lot.
So, what's your favorite pastime, hobby? If you're not, with your kids or doing work, what do you like to do to relax?
We do a lot of hiking. And so I like being out in nature and kind of away from noise and kind of quiet. So we do a lot of hiking, a lot of walking. We love camping. And so that kind of being out and amongst the trees is a nice break from life for me.
It is, man. I love that too. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Um, Mint chocolate chip,
Green or white?
green.
Favorite movie?
Um, the Goonies.
Can't go wrong with that one.
It's been on a lot lately, and I keep watching. I've seen it like 6 times in the last month.
It does come on around the holidays a lot.
Yep.
And it's not a Christmas movie.
Nope, but it's amazing.
Okay. Sidebar, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Okay, good. Okay. Best sitcom of all time?
Seinfeld.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
This hurts my heart, the Starbucks.
Are you actually allowed back in the Northeast
No.
after saying that?
No, this is going to be a rough one for me. I may not be able to go home again.
Okay. Are people that sit directly on the beach without a towel or chair normal, or do they need clinical help?
They need help. There's something going on in their life that they are okay with that, and it's not.
This not a
No.
fan of wet sand.
No. No.
Okay. Ketchup on eggs or no?
No, hot sauce.
Thin or thick crust pizza?
Thin.
Do you like candy corn?
No.
Early bird or night owl?
Unfortunately, both. Not always my choice.
Chicken wing or the drummy? So the flapper or the drummy? When you go get wings, which ones do you like?
The flapper.
Do you like the corner brownie or the center cut brownie?
Center.
What would be if you had one meal that was your last meal? What would be the meal and the dessert?
Chicken parm, because you just can't go wrong with that. I mean, even a bad one's not bad. And dessert, cupcake,
Wow. Flavor and icing.
chocolate, vanilla icing.
Okay.
Yep.
One album, your desert island album, you're stuck on a desert island, you can only listen to one album the whole time you're there. What would it be?
For some reason, I'm thinking a Phil Collins album for some reason is popping into my head. I'll go with Phil Collins, but I don't know what album.
Maybe his greatest hits?
I mean, that's just too easy, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go with that one.
Yeah, okay.
Or Pink Floyd. And I know it's not gonna be popular, but I really like the Division Bell album. It was a good album, but just outside of what they normally do.
See, this is why I ask the questions. Those deep probing questions really get underneath the surface. A person, either currently alive or who has passed away, that you would like to sit down and have a beer with and talk to.
My grandfather.
The artist or group that is no longer touring that you never saw in concert but wish you did.
The Beatles.
Your first celebrity crush.
Katie Holmes.
Favorite city in the world other than the Tampa Bay area.
Cork, Ireland.
And here is the last question. Would you rather speak every language or be able to speak to animals?
I'd rather speak to animals. I think they'd have a lot to say.
That's the one that gets me too.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I would answer that one because I sit there and I think, oh yeah, I could communicate with everybody. How cool would that be? And then my pets are acting a fool. I just want to say, just tell me what's wrong.
What are you thinking right
What
now?
do you think?
What do you want?
Why was that acceptable?
Do you want it out? Do you bone? What is this? I don't understand this.
So we're on the same page. Well, guys, thank you for hanging in with this episode. We're going to do this with some of our staff and some of our other attorneys. It's just a way for you to get to know us and hopefully make you feel comfortable again. I'm Bill Demas. This is Warren Duffy. We're with Herman Wells. You can reach us at 727-821-3195. We're again on 5701 Park Boulevard in Pinellas Park. Call us for any of your legal needs, whether it be personal injury, first-party property, disability, construction defects. We do it all. And if you have a case that really doesn't fit into what we've been talking about, I hope you feel comfortable enough with us to give us a call, because then we're going to refer you to somebody that's just like us and handles cases like us. It's much easier sometimes than just, I used to say scrolling through the yellow pages, but nobody does that anymore.
Google is a way to do it.
Yeah, or Googling somebody and then you're just taking your risk. Give us a call. We can refer you to somebody that we trust, we know is going to handle your case like we would. So again, thank you very much, and come back and watch us next time.